Um, I think our parents are alive, thank God, and I think I have a generally good relationship with my parents. I had more fights or disagreements with my mom than my dad. However, in fact, then I know that then I used to think that my mom was too, was just stressing me unnecessarily. However, when we got married, especially when we had her first baby, I realized there are a number of things that I didn't understand. I could understand why she did the things she did because when we had a baby, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, and for their generation, we knew better or we know better. However, in that generation, there are so many things that they didn't have, they were not privy to as it relates to resources, books, learnings, and all. So they were just. So I guess growing up till we got married, it was. But when we got married, then I understood more why they were the way they were and they acted the way they were doing or they did then. So I know we will still talk about your parents, but when it comes to my parents, but my mom was, when it comes to our relationship, she gave you a tougher time more than.
Yeah, she didn't want me to marry. What did I say?
Welcome to Conversation, a platform where life topics are discussed.
There are certain children that when you spank them, it doesn't
They're
make any
blessed,
it doesn't make any meaning. However, so for us,
Yes,
I think
yes,
what
yes.
we did, what we tried to do, of course we're not perfect, so we made mistakes too as well. However, at a level of the certain age group or years for our children, we I don't think you spank beyond a certain age because it's now you're just wasting your energy in that sense because the child may not adapt at a particular age. Some kids will need to be spoken to, instructed, and maybe some things are withdrawn as a form of punishment rather than the spanks at a particular age. However, I realized that, so like I remember when one of our daughters was younger, so it depends on personalities too, because I know that we have a blend. We have four daughters and we have a blend of, of temperaments amongst all of them. But there was one of our daughters that I think she was about maybe 3 or so, or 4 at the time, and she did something one day, and their dad spanked her, and she didn't cry. And he really, really spanked her. Even me, I was shaking. And he spanked, and she didn't cry, and I was scared. I was like, what kind of dog girl is this? And I called her. Now, do you understand why daddy spanked you? And she said she didn't understand that. Daddy asked her a question. Daddy asked her why she did what she did, and she said she did it. She doesn't think she was wrong, and even though he spanked her, but when he spoke to her, even at that age, when he talked to her, that's when the tears came. So it also depends on personalities. There are certain children that you will spank them. In fact, they like it. They're like, ugh, okay, you So I think it's also intentional in the sense that you have to understand your children, discipline them. We were having this conversation just last week, and I realized that for certain parents or homes, the way you discipline a child compared to another child also affects.
Yeah.
Because especially for guys, boys, so if a dad is going to spank a son because he did something wrong, and as opposed to the daughter, so they spank the boy for maybe he made a mistake, he broke something or did something, and then the sister does something similar, and they don't, and they pamper her.
Kind of.
So, and really it's affecting, because we had this conversation, we had a training, recently, counseling training, and a lot of the men that were in that training, they actually said that affected them.
Yeah, I think,
So we need, if you're going to spank equally. if you're going to instruct equally. If you're going to overlook equally. Don't spank one and now leave the other because this one is more gragra. Excuse me.
I think it's still the same. This
Yeah.
thing about understanding people,
Yeah.
dwelling with people according to knowledge, understanding them, whether your child or children or even your friends, would help us to build people rather than destroy them. I mean, thank God if not, maybe I'll be doing spanking more than talking. Okay, but I realize that when you talk to a child, in fact, you ask the child, do you know what you have done wrong? And sometimes they explain why they've gotten things wrong or what they've done wrong, and
Yeah.
you just leave them because, oh, she understands that, don't do it again. Of course, some of them will still do it again. Why did you do it again? I don't know, Daddy. You know, but at least understanding makes a difference. When we're growing up, sometimes you know what you did wrong, but you don't know the details. So they just spank you and you find that you're not really getting better for that. There's something that also would help our kids is respecting them. Especially as they grow. One of the mistakes we make is we try to talk to a 16-year-old because they grew up in your hands, you know. You saw them grow 1 year, 3 years, 5, 6, 7, and then now this person is 16.
Yeah.
And then you take them for granted and now talk to that 16-year-old child like he or she was still 5 or 6. You might not get the best of vibes. So let's respect our kids even as they mature. We have daughters. I mean, well, maybe it made me a bit lazy. I hadn't bathed them, you understand? Just to respect them, their bodies, and things like that. So let's not say, it's my child, I know her, who is he? Some men have lost their teenage sons like that. The guy is already 17, and you're talking to him like he's 5 years old. Hey, Tokpe, come here. The way you used to talk to him at 4. And when he hears Tokpe, he says, who is shouting like a goat? He doesn't say it out. You know, that kind of thing. And you wonder why the child is moving away from the dad. I think you should respect him too and be his friend, you know. So these are areas that we're all growing up to. I mean, one thing that helped me to respect my own parents is when I became a parent myself.
Yeah.
I realized the kind of work they've done. Man, I humble.
But and the thing is, the Bible is really. But I know you mentioned honor our parents, and that same, faith chapter talks about fathers provoke not your children. You know, so it's balanced. If you're going to discipline your children, don't do it in anger. If you have to spank, even if you have to spank, don't spank in anger. The passion of the moment. Calm down, so that they don't equate because when you're spanking, when we spank, there's a look, there's an outlook on your face, there's a way you carry out that discipline, and when you do it that way, it's like an anchor. They just know, the way, if you are that passionate and spanking me, that means I did something terrible, and then they anchor that, and it never leaves them. But if you have to spank them, let them know that if you do this, these are the consequences, and they just know that I deserve to be spanked because you have laid down those rules, rather than just doing it from the passion of the moment because of what they did.
I will pray for them. Okay, maybe that would be an added counsel, praying for them. Anyone you pray for, you get closer to the person, okay? So when you pray for your children, I want to say pray, don't just say, Father, we pray for our children. Mention their names one by one, and you get closer to them in the spirit and the
So I remember reading a novel when I was younger, and I read the fact that this girl thought her mom was not her mom, and then ran away. She went to look for her mom, so left the house. So I read and then I was younger. I used to have a lot of issues with my mom. Oh goodness! So I remember that there was a box where my parents would keep our certificates, birth certificates and all. So I went looking. I said, my mom cannot be my mom. So I went. I said, my real mom. I'm sure that the document is in this box. That maybe when I search for it, I will
know my real mom.
I will know my real mom. And another, I just play back, I remember there was a day I came back from secondary school. I wasn't meant to, they're doing census that period. So they didn't tell us to leave school, but it was an opportunity for us to leave. So I didn't tell, normally when I had to go home, I would have written a letter that, mommy, I'm coming, My dad was always traveling. So I just came home and I met the house empty. My mom had gone to meet my dad in the north because it was an opportunity for her to to bond. So I forced her, because I was back, I was the only one home. She had to come back. And she was so upset with me. So she picked me up from my aunt's place, and I will never forget. Because of the anger, she was like, I came to spoil her her honeymoon. My box, I brought my box and everything on Oshodi Road. She told me, carry it on your head. Oh God. She was just walking ahead of me, like I'm not her daughter. I saw her just walking ahead, and she was like, yeah, better before I was like, oh God, what did I just do?
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
I went to grammar school, so I was in the same school with my younger sister, and then we didn't have money at home. So all the monies they give us is always, there's this word management. So I always don't have money in body now, so I always beg for food from my colleagues, because when my mom comes, she's always bringing eba and efo. And eba, what's eba in English? Eba, okay. And efo, and that efo, there's no protein inside. So one day, my brother's friend came from London. He came to do something in Abeokuta, like a project, So he now came to the boarding house and saw me and gave me some money. And gave me my sister's money too. I said, this is God. I spent everything. I enjoyed everything, because it was like we spoke like pals. Your brother's friend. How are you doing? High school. Oh, take this money. The money he gave, your parents will give you for a whole year. I spent everything. I'd forgotten. And I got home. Unknown to me, he went to visit my parents.
I told them.
I don't know what entered him. It's unfair. It's bad.
Oh my God.
He now told them, I mentioned the amount. I got home excited from boarding house. The night, my dad just called me. You said, as I mentioned my brother's friend's name, everyone's opened. That he even mentioned his name.
What happened? You're crying.
For him to mention his name, that means he came to see them. I thought he just came to see you. He saw me and then left to London. So for him to say, your brother's friend came to the house.
You already knew.
And now said, asked me, where is the money they gave you? Jesus is Lord. Amen. I won't go beyond that. I won't go beyond that.
Oh my gosh.
But I will never spend money
without telling your parents
that I should not spend again. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my goodness.
They beat hell out of me and then left me with heaven. Thank you, Jesus. But that helped me not to be, even in ministry, to even spend church money, I'm scared. There's something that parenting does that builds a child.
So I think with regards to forgiving our parents, there are certain things that they would never, see our own way, because they're different generation. They have different experiences. So I think we have a larger responsibility to let go and forgive them, because truly, no matter how much we even try to talk to them and try to reason out certain things, sometimes they may say it, sometimes, and I think most times they won't. So we just need to, just like we say, even with marriage, when you just have that underlying principle that what, we are two forgivers here. So because that they have hurt you, sometimes the hurts are quite intense, run deep. Maybe we just need to let them be. Whatever hurts have happened, we can deal with it with maybe in other directions. Maybe talking to someone else, a friend, a counselor. That's your own healing. Heal. However, when it comes to them, forgive. because they may never see it. They may never come to that place where they even ask for mercy or forgiveness based on what they did. So we just need to, anticipate it and just let it go, trusting that the healing would take place, ourselves. I've had to do that. There have been times when I remember, especially when growing earlier years of our marriage, comparing or remembering certain expressions from my parents, my mom, and thinking that should I talk to her about it. I try, I attempt to talk to her about it, and I see that she won't get it, so but the hurt is there. We remember how deep, how what she said affected me, so I had to learn to just, okay, Bimbo, what she said, this is why she said it. I had to rationalize it myself, help heal myself and make excuses on her behalf, and then reach my own healing.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot from you. Wow, amazing. Now Scripture says, regard our hearts with all diligence. I think we allow people to hurt us too much by or through false expectations. And I noticed, I'm a pastor, okay, and I counsel with people. I realized that when people are dealing with people, they seem to have a different set of rules for their family members compared to other people. When their family members, cousins, siblings do some things, we have some emotional explanations for it, But if somebody else does the same thing, you yourself will be analyzing, how can a woman talk like that? How can a man behave like that? But when their cousin does it, or their own brother, it's not like that, just because it's their brother. That's unfair. On yourself anyway, because you're going to put yourself under unnecessary pain. We have, even husband and wife, for instance, some women, the expectation they have from their husband is like, husband being their God.
Yeah, father.
And God gives us joy, all those things. Your husband might not be able to do that. So I think that has helped me a lot. So that when people do certain things wrong, the hurt does not get so damaging. You understand? That's very, very important. That will help someone. There's some things that we expect from people that only God can do it for you. Like Bimbo said about the level of knowledge or understanding. There's some things that your mom would never. I used to make that mistake, thinking everybody's mom is like my own mom, everybody's dad like my own dad. I've seen very abusive parents, just even maybe demon-possessed parents. Maybe demon-possessed parents. You do your best, and then learn to move on. Love them. I pray a lot about things like that, for God to always give me wisdom on what to do. But do not allow your parents hinder your own future. I hope that makes some sense. So, thanks for joining our conversations today. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Yemi Davids, at Bimbo Davids, Abimbola Davids, okay? And you want to rewatch, is it rewatch they call it?
Yeah.
Other episodes. I think you enjoy it. The wiser you are. Enjoy your week.